Hi, Shirley.
Hi there, how are you?
Good. What's your last name?
Roat. R-A-O-A-T.
R-O-A-T. Got it.
And I'm a member of the Friends.
Friends, yes.
Okay.
I probably have met you. I just don't, I'm terrible at names.
So am I.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Do you have a lot of snow where you are?
Enough. I don't know exactly how much, but enough. It was a lot of shoveling the other few days ago.
Yes, it sure was.
But I like shoveling, so it's good exercise.
It is.
And I like the feeling of accomplishment when you're done and you're like, look what I did.
What time is it? So I've got a couple
Wish
more.
that I felt that way about gardening. I like the flowers, but I don't know. I can't get into the dirt thing. I don't know. And the weeds, and I'm allergic to half of them. And if I touch them, I get all itchy. Ooh.
I love to garden flowers, and I used to like to garden vegetables, but then I hate picking them. I love planting them. I love weeding them, but I hate picking them.
Really? See, I think the
Yes.
picking part would be so much fun.
Well, I don't know.
My husband and daughter plant veggies, so I'm lucky. I'm always afraid too with gardening. It's hard to tell the weeds sometimes from what is actually a good plant, and
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not good at it.
No,
My
I
mother,
don't always know them,
yeah,
especially the strays that come up from the year before.
yeah,
Trying to figure out, is that a real plant?
I know. It's hard to tell. My mother used to have so much stuff. Oh my gosh. And my grandma used to have a garden that was enormous.
Yeah, I had a huge one across the street, and we had to fence it in from the rabbits and everything.
Yep. Hi.
Now I have 3
Hi.
plants. That's it.
Eh,
Sarah.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good.
Happy Monday.
Yes.
Monday.
January 24th already. Holy
know.
cow.
It's crazy.
I don't know how that happened.
I
Yeah.
know. In February, I'll be gone in a flash because it's a short month anyway.
Exactly, I know. Hey Bruce.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah. How are
How
you?
am I?
Yeah.
I'm feeling like one of the kids asking the teacher if there's homework. That's how I feel.
It's gonna be a pop quiz.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Is Gary coming?
And Debbie said she wouldn't be in.
Yeah,
And-
she was, I think she's traveling or something right now.
something. And Chris is coming and he sent all the financials. He'll probably want to share his screen when he gets here.
Oh yeah, I should probably.
You know how to do that? So he can do it?
Yeah.
Make him co-host, yeah. But you got to wait till he gets here.
Mhm.
But now he'll be good and I won't have to hold everybody up.
Where's Gary Foley?
I don't know. I'm kind of shocked we don't see Steve.
Yeah, where's Steve? Steve never misses
It's
one.
always on super
Usually
early.
Early, yeah. Like way early. Like I have to edit out Steve sitting there by himself, taking calls.
I usually get a notification like 15 minutes before the meeting starts that he's on.
Yep.
Too funny. We'll give him a minute.
Stacy, I was gonna ask this during our meeting, but I think I can ask it now. Do you know how a 414 would affect how money is collected from Palmyra? Would it
We
change anything?
We don't collect any money from Palmyra.
Right.
Oh, wait, no, they don't collect money from Macedon. Sorry, I got it backwards. No, it wouldn't undo the whatever 259 vote at all, unless we said, because we went for the 414, we're gonna not take the money anymore, which
Yeah,
is what Palmyra did when they became special district. They said they weren't going to take money from Macedon anymore because they're their own thing.
Mm.
So that you can play it either way.
So maybe that's something that the library board needs to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because somebody asked that about the money from Walworth too early on.
Yeah, and that's another one, and that's a small one, but we could say, you know what, we're not going to take this money anymore.
So those are both 259s from Walworth and Palmyra
Yep. They amount to $20,000
together.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, Chris.
Bye.
Does someone have Gary or Steve's phone so you can text them and say, hey?
I don't have. Let me.
I could email them.
Oh, here comes Gary.
Okay, yeah.
We do need Steve. Hey, Gary.
Hey, sorry, I had the wrong meeting information involved in my calendar.
Yeah,
Didn't find any meetings about wrong.
Sorry, my phone's answering me.
Yeah, I was like, holy cow, it's the 24th. This morning. I was snuck up on me here. All right.
It just occurred to me, maybe he lost your link, so I'll send him that too. I mean, I didn't see it.
Oh, Steve's texting me. I didn't have my phone, it was in the other room. That his computer got hacked today and he's looking for the call-in number. So let me send that to him.
I'm sending it to him. I just did.
Okay.
It's in his email though, if you want to.
Yeah, I don't think he can get to it though because he's not on his computer.
Unless he has his email on his phone.
Yeah, I doubt that. I think he. I'm just texting him, sorry.
See, now if Debbie came in, we'd be like the Brady Bunch.
Right? All right. I just text him. We'll kind of hang tight, but I think we could go ahead and get started. We can at least, cover the financials and approve last month's minutes and things like that. So hopefully he'll be able to join by phone if anything. Okay. So as far as December minutes, could I get somebody to make a motion to approve, please? Gary, I'll pick on you since Steve's not here.
I'll make the motion to approve December's minutes.
All right, and I'll go ahead and second that. And then we're all in favor.
Aye.
Just a reminder that I sent out our 2021 director reviews, and thank you, Stacy, for giving those to the staff at the library. I picked a couple up on Saturday. And I'll pop back in probably later in the week to see if there's any other ones. So thank you. Steve, is that you that joined?
Yes.
Hi there.
Hello.
All right. So let's see. I do, because we have in our old business, we're just kicking that off. I do want to bring one thing up that was brought up at last month's meeting, was that after we had sent our budget for review through the town, the surrounding library director salaries were shared publicly, and we knew that Stacy was significantly below what other directors, in neighboring libraries and really across the board, she's significantly lower in her salary. So we did meet as a group, and we also met with Ron to talk about Stacy's salary. So if I could ask that, I just want to make sure I'm getting it right from my notes here. What we discussed was a proposal of a 10% salary increase for Stacy. So if I could ask for someone to make a motion to approve a 10% salary increase for 2022. And I believe our final number would bump her up to $57,959 with that increase. And we will make a plan to bring her more current with the other directors in the areas and across the Pioneer system, really. We'll make a plan for that in our 2023 budget.
Thank you.
I would make the motion to increase Stacy's salary by 10% over last year. Based
Okay.
on, reviewing for the year after.
Okay.
Second.
I couldn't get my mute off.
That's okay. Steve, did you have something you wanted to say?
I seconded it.
Seconded it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And then all in favor?
Yeah.
I'll say
Aye.
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 Okay, great. So Stacy, I think we talked about a plan to make that retroactive, correct me if I'm wrong, so that we can make a plan. We want you to know that we appreciate absolutely everything you do. Your grant writing skills are phenomenal and really keep this library afloat. And, we did discuss, and I think all of us chatted at our meeting in December that, we're sorry that we didn't pick up on this before the budget went to the town, and, but we did factor in an increase. It's just, other libraries had bigger increases in mind and kind of beat us to it. So I hope that this helps a little, and represents to you that we are appreciative, we are acknowledging what's happening throughout the organization, and that we will do our best to do right by you and show your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
very
could just add, the other thing, Stacy, it was late in the game with the budget planning process. So for future, we as a board discussed making this part of our budgetary planning process to try to review where you're at, how does it compare, what are you contributing, et cetera, to our discussion, so that we do it within the budget process as opposed to afterwards. So that's part of our plan going forward.
And you and the staff as a whole. I mean, I think we have work to do there.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want them you know, to think that, you know, we're not appreciative of all their hard work and dedication as well, especially with the past couple of years and what they've had to deal with. But we know that they're significantly behind as well, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
We've gotten one up to where she should be, but the rest of them could use a boost.
Yeah.
We're
All
gonna do
right.
all in favor?
Yes, yeah, we did that, right? All in favor, just in case. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Yeah, Steve, you gotta talk. Can't see you.
Aye.
All right,
Didn't wanna
Chris,
yell.
do you want to take it over and go over? Oh, wait, before we do that, sorry. Motion to pay January bills. And I do apologize. I meant to grab the number, Stacy. I swore I was going to do better at that.
Okay.
Here we are.
I have it. So it's voucher number 1 through 13. And the total amount is $9,377.15.
So I'll make a motion to pay this month's bills. What was it, voucher 1 through
13.
13 and for $9,377.15.
I'll go ahead and second that. And then all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, Chris. Now I'll pass it off to you.
All right, at long last. I will share my screen. Steve, if you don't have it in front of you, then you will just have to listen in and imagine what all the great things I'm telling you. So now we're at preliminary numbers for year end December. There are a handful of maybe, accrual adjustments or reclassifications, but for the most part, this is pretty close to what I think we can expect to see for 2021. From a revenue standpoint, we were over $350,000 for revenue. That's compared to the budget of 323. So obviously that's a positive variance, and the vast majority of that is in the gifts and grants area. Now, $24,000 of that or so was received for some specific programming. A lot of that we would have done anyway. So it is still considered, I think, budget relief. About $35,000 or $3,500 of that is going to be used or is earmarked for programming in 2022. So just take note of that some of that is carrying over to 2022. So in theory, if everything stopped with grants, we would have no income for grants, but we would have $3,500 of expenses down in the contractual line for grants. So we would have a loss of $3,500 because that money is carrying over from one year to the next.
So that money, so Chris, that money is not into the reserves. It's even though it's carried over, it's specifically identified for certain things.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. The interest income is a little bit less than expected. We haven't received anything from the town from the bonus money that they have over at GRB. We haven't historically, but or we haven't in a while. So, but we still thought that maybe we would get something. We did get an RACF distribution from the bonus fund. That's up in gifts and grants, so that we got that as expected. But the interest revenue wasn't really where we thought it would be. So that is a negative variance. The fines are below budget too. That's just because of the reduced foot traffic because of the ongoing pandemic. So overall though, positive revenue for this year. Some of that is also due to the food pantry, which is going, as you all know, should be spinning off to its own nonprofit. Some of the food pantry costs are also down in expenses. So that is some of the reason why the miscellaneous expenses are over budget, because we have about $2,500 worth of food pantry expenses that weren't budgeted for. Also, in the benefits line, we we don't have the bill yet for the New York State retirement, so we can't accrue for what is going to be, for what we will pay. So, and once we get that bill, we will accrue. I don't think it's going to be $26,000. It never has been $26,000. So, you know, I think we'll still have a positive variance there, budget versus actual. Contractuals under budget also by about 15,000. The majority of that is because of the reduced materials that we needed because of the reduced foot traffic. We do have about $353,000 in the unrestricted general reserve. So that is to last us, you know, if we didn't get if something happened and we didn't get any tax levy, we'd still be able to make it almost an entire year. If you look at our expenses, you know, we have more than a year's worth of expenses in that reserve. But that we haven't seen that happen yet, but it should give people some comfort that we do have that much in a reserve.
Does that reserve include the end of the year addition?
What end of year? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the fact that we ended up over budget in revenue and under budget in expenses, we have a delta. Was that delta already added into that reserve number?
Yeah, that reserve just is the accumulated deltas from.
So is 2021's delta in there? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's all.
Yep. Any thoughts, questions? Any thoughts, Stacy, on when you do you have any new updates in the food pantry as to when it might actually spin off?
I haven't heard anything. I've filed some of the paperwork and you can't really do anything till you hear back on the first, you know how it is.
Yeah.
So until and I've been warned it could take time.
Yeah.
They're backed up.
Yeah, they
A
are.
lot of the state employees are working from home and it's not ideal and they're just backed up.
Yeah, it took like 6 months for a community center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a quick thing,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. It'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah, especially during tax season. I mean, the IRS is so slammed too. So even if once you get it through the state, then you go through to the IRS and they're just
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so just so people know, some of those expenses right now for the food pantry are still running through the library. We're still showing that as miscellaneous. That's really because their cash is right now until we get it spun off. It's commingled. So I think that's fine. I don't think we're not talking giant dollar amounts either. So
and Stacy's keeping track of it too. So
yeah, and so is QuickBooks. You know, so everything is being categorized there too. So we're good.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. I'll stop sharing.
Anybody have any questions or anything before we move on?
I'm curious about what is the revenue source for the food pantry? Are those donations?
Yeah, I received a grant from the United Way to be able to have the shed. So there was that money. I've received donations of food and money from local organizations. And I'm missing something. Oh, I received a really sizable anonymous donation. It was $5,000. So when I don't have enough donations of food from either community members or local organizations, I go to Aldi's and I supplement. And I try to stretch it as far as I possibly can. So I try to be super thrifty because it's not going to last forever.
Right.
We just had a sizable donation of food come in today from Garlock, and there'll be another pickup from Garlock on Monday.
Oh, great. Yeah, there was a ton of stuff
Mm-hmm.
from them.
And actually they had some things they didn't need to use because they ordered for the pandemic, but they had some leftover things they no longer need. And so they said, do you want them for the pantry or for the library? So I have some things that are earmarked for the library. I didn't think they'd fit in well in the pantry. So very nice.
Yeah.
And there are patrons that, because we have a wire rack now, and people can take from the wire rack or they can drop off things if they like. And there are patrons who are choosing to bring in things. So that's really nice too.
That wire rack that's in there was from over here in Macedon Center, right?
No,
Was
the wire rack next to our door.
Yeah.
No, I actually got that for a song and a dance when our family video store went out of business.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I meant, so when the shed blew down, I thought that was why we were using that wire rack. In
Oh,
the library
yeah,
for
but-
that, and then we were moving everything back to the shed. Did that happen or not because of winter?
No, we still have stuff in the shed, but I put back stock on the wire rack because our back room's small. And
Okay.
I have a tiny bit still in the back room, but this helps. And there are a few patrons that will take things from the rack in the library.
Okay.
And that's fine too. You know,
I was
don't
just
care where
curious.
they find things they need.
Okay.
But,
All right, good.
yeah,
All
it
right.
helps to create awareness, which is really good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the director's report. So everybody got a chance to read it. A lot of great things. I know December is kind of a weird month as far as, people coming in and out, and, we had the uptick in the COVID cases and things like this, but all good things happening. There was one addition that Stacy, I'll let you announce some really great news.
Yes, so I wrote a grant. It's got a long name, the American Rescue Plan Humanities Grant. And it was for $10,000 and I was awarded the grant. It was a national grant, so it was highly competitive. And the whole idea of the grant is to hire an intern from a local college or university to do the following. I'm going to read from my grant because just so I don't miss anything. Choose a book on a topic that would have a great appeal locally, purchase several copies of the book, invite people to read it, and then come back to the library on a specific date to talk about it. Take the discussion further by integrating technical skills into the program. So for example, read a book, talk about the theme, and learn how to use technology to upload a book review or an opinion about the book onto YouTube. Or maybe read a book like Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers book and learn about the 10,000 rule, and then learn how to make a spreadsheet and maybe start keeping track of how often you're practicing something. If permission is given by the participant, some of this stuff could be shared. Like, for example, if you did a book review and you were willing to share it, we could put that on our YouTube channel and let people see your book review. And the goals are to inspire people to read books of interest, to create a safe space for people to discuss what they've read, to further develop their insights and thoughts about their reading, to teach useful technology skills connected to the purpose of synthesizing ideas for the possibility of sharing with a larger audience, and to give people the chance to apply technology skills in a safe, non-judgmental environment so they'll have the confidence to use technology in other settings, and to give a future librarian or teacher the opportunity to gain some experience teaching in a professional environment. So that's the upshot of the grant.
Yeah, super.
So I'm looking forward to interviewing some potential interns. And the target audience for this is actually women, because in Wayne County, women are the demographic that is most often in poverty or barely above the poverty line. So by helping them, women a lot of times like to read anyhow, but they may not have the tech skills they need. So this is a way to get them reading, but applying their reading to the use of technology. which could be helpful.
How are you going to seek out candidates?
I'm gonna be, hopefully, I want to have an appointment with somebody at Nazareth to explain the grant and then figure out how I can work with their guidance counselors to promote that I have this position available, and hopefully we'll get a student from Nazareth because
I
they're,
assume they're getting paid for the grant,
Yes.
out of the grant money.
yeah,
And is it requirement to be a Wayne County person or
no,
no?
no.
Okay.
But it would be required to be a local person because the grant only lasts for a short amount of time. So I'm going from April to October with it. So you'd have to be local because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do the programs. So,
Well, with college, because you do have that summer issue where if it isn't, they go somewhere, is that, so you just have to keep that in mind, I guess.
yeah, I'm hoping to find someone that is local. I know a lot of local people are going to Nazareth, so
Yeah, it is a lot of
shouldn't
local
be
kids.
completely,
It's a mix, but yeah.
yeah.
Do they have a
So,
library
and
science
I know they
program
produce
at
good
Nazareth?
teachers. So. And also I was thinking, no, but I was thinking about St. John Fisher as well, because they have
Is there
one.
anybody that has library science in our area? I know Syracuse, you know.
No, Syracuse, but they're not that close, like to
Right.
drive from Syracuse to Macedon
Right.
and Buffalo. But again, to drive from Buffalo to, I don't know, unless there's an online student that might be local. that might
Geneseo
wanna
doesn't have
do it.
one?
Geneseo doesn't do library school anymore.
Okay, I knew they did at one time.
They did.
Yeah,
And then
when I was there.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame they don't anymore because it was a good library school.
Okay, sorry.
So
Great job, Stacy. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Another feather in your grant cap.
I know I was starting to think I lost my touch because I got rejected a few times. So I thought, oh no. And then this came in.
We just needed the big whammy, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments about the director's report or anything else to add, Stacy?
Stacy, there was one of the ebook numbers for December was 0 and never any other month
Oh,
was
no.
it? So,
It wasn't supposed to be 0. That's my error if it was 0.
I think that's what I saw.
Well, if you did, I made a mistake. It was not 0. I could look it up while you guys are talking and tell you.
That's all right. It just,
I think
Yeah.
that stuff has been getting booked to the media. It's been commingled with that media account.
Mm,
So that's why the two,
Well, I
like,
took out some books in December, so it should be there.
Yeah, I might have just made an
Ebooks.
error. Sorry about that if I did.
Okay.
Most
Um,
likely I got distracted. I would probably had the number and somebody asked me a question and I thought I put it in and I didn't.
I asked.
All right, Bruce. How you doing?
I am well, thank you very much, except for that gut-wrenching Buffalo Bills defeat last night.
Oh, wasn't that
know.
awful?
What a
All
great.
on the toss of a coin.
I hope that I know that this isn't on the agenda, because the agenda came out late. I'm gonna blame this on you, Tara.
Totally, I take it.
They should change the overtime rules to something more like college.
Should
Yeah,
I would agree.
yeah.
be like starting any other quarter.
Yeah. I don't have anything new. At our last board meeting, I did bring up that we had been having an ongoing discussion with the 414 and that we discussed the lease, that the board seemed fine with the lease as it was written. I know that we have outstanding questions about what to do with appliances and the community room and flooring and furniture. What I think I would recommend, I mentioned the desire for both parties to avoid lawyers if possible. And I think our relationship is such that we can, up until maybe right at the end when we're reviewing something. But I guess what I would recommend that we do is, why don't we take on those outstanding issues ourselves? And then whatever we come up with, I can just share that as a proposal, as an addition to the lease, because right now I'm feeling like there really aren't any issues, and the things that we're bringing up are, I guess they're all reasonable. I mean, we're having reasonable opinions about where to go next. So I think if we have some suggestions about the future use of the community room, for example, or the replacement of appliances after the library is funded through a 414, assuming that that happens, why don't we just come up with our own recommendations as to how to proceed, and then I'll propose those to the board, rather than complicating that work by involving the board, because I really think that there's a lot of, I don't want to say disinterest, but I think that I would prefer to not burden them, and I think it might overcomplicate things. I think if I can just present something that we've mutually discussed, it'll be more advantageous.
Makes sense.
So just kind of broadening the future, I guess, the future, the expanse of the lease by just adding on to some of those outstanding questions, and why don't we just address it ourselves, and we can treat it as an addendum, and then I could have our town lawyer review it, and I could bring it up in an executive at some point later in the year, if I'm assuming that we're going to get to that point where we're finalizing some things. I can bring it up in an executive session. This is where we are. These are the recommendations. I prefer to keep it I prefer to not make it a big issue.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
And then just to piggyback off of that, we do have our next meeting with Ron, February 28th at 6, which is just before our next library board meeting. So
February 28th.
Yeah.
Yep.
At 6.
Yeah.
So that's the week after our.
That's the same day as our board meeting. Just our board
All
meeting
right,
is at
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Okay.
You can
How
join.
long are we expecting that to last with Ron?
Well, we have our board meeting at 6:30, so I would expect it, just that half hour.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be virtual.
Yep.
Yes.
And what's the purpose of that? Is that just to check in?
So I think we had some specific questions.
Yeah, I remember Bruce, you had requested examples of verbiage from other libraries that had gone this route.
Yeah.
So that you would have some idea, how other people went about things. Sort of like, I don't know if you're thinking template or what, but Ron's researching it.
Okay.
I think he had some stuff in his back pocket too at one time, but I don't know if he's just kind of.
I don't know,
firming
but
up.
I'm sure he'll have stuff.
Yeah.
Then, Bruce, based on your comments about the lease and going to the town board, kind of once we have kind of come up with our proposal or whatever, right? There becomes this, I still don't have this under my purview in terms of stuck in my head in terms of the timeline, but there basically becomes a timeline when we have to go out to petition, get people to sign a petition in order to put the 414 up for vote, right? That'll be in 2023 sometime, right? So the question then becomes, in order to do that, we would want to know what our overall costs are going to be, so that we can, it becomes part of that discussion, and that's where we would want to have any of those kinds of discussions with the town kind of understood, because if there's something that's going to cost us differently or more or whatever, we want to understand that before we go out to the public. I think, I don't know if that's, anybody correct me if I'm wrong in that statement.
No, you're right. When you have the petition, you have to have I know that you need to be able to state what it is you're doing and what the costs are so that people understand what they're signing.
So if it's I assume it's in line with the political calendar, which would mean that petitioning probably begins in March.
Right.
So you're looking at having that ready to go by March 2023.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was just trying to back into, that what are those key milestones that we have to meet? And I think that's kind of one of them. And so piggybacking off of your discussion of when we have to have that proposal forward and agreed to is tied to being able to go out to that petition. So I don't know what those timelines are to have that ready and agree to be able to go forward, but that kind of gives us that's a key milestone that's down the road in March of next year that we know we'd have to have that done before. So that's all.
Yeah. So Stacy, in anticipation of meeting with Ron, and thank you so much for reminding me about what I thought last month. I wish you were around my life a little bit more frequently. Do you think you could ask him to see whether or not he has some boilerplate language about how to protect the library's budget for that first vote?
Sure.
What would that look like in terms? I mean, we're going to have to have you're going to have an agreement with the town, right? That if the 414 doesn't pass, that there's some guarantee for a continuation of whatever the last budget was.
Right.
So maybe if he has an example of what that looks like, that would be very helpful.
Sure.
That would do a lot of work for us.
Sure.
And then we probably want to, Gary, I don't know if you had logged in yet, but I had asked a question about, I didn't know at the time the number, but the 259s from Walworth and Palmyra. I wonder if he's going to have, Ron's going to have some thoughts on that, some insight.
I know when we met, I don't know, in the early fall, maybe, it sounded like he thought it might be a good idea to let people know that we would no longer do that because it would be like a duplication in taxation. So if we did the 414, it would be the 414. Just like Palmyra is a special district, but it's kind of the same concept. They've carved out their lines and they're not taking money from any other.
Right, but what you're really do you know how that $20,000 is partitioned between Walworth and Palmyra?
5,000. 5,000 comes from Gananda and 15 from
yeah.
Palmac. Or
yep.
Oh, from Palmac. So it's not specifically out of Palmyra.
No, it's the school district, right?
School district.
Which would affect the school taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're shifting revenue, right, from school tax to the 414 and Macedon.
And Gananda is also school tax.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so, I mean,
now it's
I thought he did say you could still do it. It wasn't that you couldn't. It's just because the 414 it becomes a town vote on the number. It's still, we have to make this decision as to, because if we say we're not going to go to still after those two revenue streams, then our revenue stream to the town itself has to go up by that 20,000.
Correct.
Okay? So we've got to, I don't think he said you don't do it. I don't think he said you can't do it. I think I think we can do it. We just got to make that decision.
Well, it makes it a little heavier lift, right? I mean, it's a $20,000 increase.
One thing to keep in mind is when we get the 259 from Gananda, the Macedon residents in that school district pay for the 5,000, but the Walworth people do not. They separate. But my understanding is that the 259 that comes through Palmac, they don't separate.
I don't understand the details and all of that,
Yeah.
but
Well, you're supposed to do it the way Palmac does it.
yeah. Right, that out of a pot of money, $15,000 of that school tax goes to the Macedon Library. So if you were to stop that, you're going to have to add on that 15,000 to the ask of the 414, unless you supplemented it from
But it wouldn't be the
your
full
fund balance or something.
It wouldn't really be the full 15, because you have to figure that some of the people that pay into the 15,000 are Macedon people already. So that would still be Macedon people paying it, but it would come directly from the town. Whereas the people in Palmyra would no longer have to pay to support the Macedon Library, which I know is a sticking point. for
Yeah.
Palmyra
Well, I
now.
mean, my larger point is those are things to consider. Because on that first year where you want to pass the 414, if that's the route you want to go, you'd like the numbers to not increase by very much,
Correct.
if at all, on that first year.
Correct.
Okay. We can figure out how the sausage is made later.
All right. Anything else, Bruce, or for
Nope.
Bruce?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So I'm going to shoot out an email about that, the bill for the New York State retirement. I know Kim is on vacation right now, but I'll ask somebody else at the office.
What would be interesting to find out, Bruce, if you can, is how much do the Palmyra people pay of the 15,000 that we get from Palmac? If there's anyone who can tell you that.
Yeah.
Irene, her last name starts with a U, Unterborn, is that right?
Yeah.
From the town?
Yeah. Utter something or other.
She collects the school taxes though.
Yeah, she might be able to tell you that,
Okay.
because that would be interesting to know, because then you could figure out what the actual increase to Macedon people would be.
Right. Okay.
All right, we got 7:15. I'd like to wrap up by 7:30 is to not keep people too long. So just being conscious of the time. All right, let's see. If nothing else for Bruce or from Bruce. Let's see, Shirley, how are you? How are our friends?
They're doing fine, thank you for asking.
Good.
So our meeting was relatively short in January. And so the Friends Speaker Series, due to the rise in COVID, they haven't been having the events. There was concern expressed about the people coming in and not knowing whether, their health and everything. So I think Speaker Series right now is sort of on hold. They does have things, I think, planned later. The other thing we had, the Fundraising Committee, we've booked Heart Barbecue on the last day of the spring book sale for a fundraiser. We are going to participate in the garage sale in August. Beginning in February, we will start with another winter, 2 baskets for a winter raffle. And then we're trying to obtain Doug's Fish Fry. It's hard to book them. We're hoping to get sometime between July and September, October. And also we'll do Gal Wins again at the Saturday of the fall book sale, and then also do another raffle
Beautiful.
in the fall. And that's really it, because we have long range plans. We'll later on we'll figure out the welcome spring Friends get together that was canceled in December, and we'll let you know when a date has been selected and everything. So, but that's
Great.
it.
Okay. stuff, all good stuff. Fish fries and barbecues and book sales. Let's see. So we already had our reminder for the 28th. Mark your calendars a half hour early to meet with Ron. Please stop into the library for our board members to complete your 2022 forms. And I believe we all have to do our, what do we have to do tonight together?
Oath of office.
Both the oath of office.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And do you recite it and we agree to it, or do we all recite it together? I can't remember how we did it last year.
Actually, if everybody has gone and had a notary public sign and you read it in front of them and, or even just say, what was I told to say? I acknowledge that to the best of my ability, everything I have said here is true and whatever.
Mhm.
You're good. We don't have to recite it.
Okay. So I think
it's
there's a
already.
couple that are still need to be done. So officer selection, Debbie's not here. So, but I thought I was good for 2022. And then I had to step down in 2023. Am I wrong? Am I
just
technically not supposed to be
let me
hearing?
double check because I keep track. Let me get to where I have that information.
I just want to clarify that. And then I'd like to, if we can, put that off to make sure that Debbie is still comfortable. She hasn't said she's not with keeping her position. Gary, I don't know if you're okay with keeping your position. And Chris, I think we locked you into yours.
I don't know, does the town supervisor have to do something now that I'm not just taking somebody's place or something? I mean,
No,
I
I
sent my stuff to her last year and then I think somebody said I didn't have to, and so I don't
I
know.
think that was just for board appointment after that.
Yeah,
Office
the library board appoints its own
officers.
board members, officers, yep.
that was just because you were taking Denise's spot. So we had to do something a little special there.
Okay.
But if we could put that off until our February meeting, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, and then Stacy, you can rather than hunt and peck like right now, you're trying to find,
I've got it.
Oh, okay. That's
So Tara, didn't you start as president in 2019? Because you served a year in 2018 and then you were really green and you got to be president like not long after you joined. So all of 2019, all of 2020, all of 2021. So
4 more years.
So
4 more years.
You could take a year off and then come back in 2023.
But I can't do 2022.
Not by the bylaws, unless we want to get into changing
Let's
them.
change it.
So then,
Let's change.
so then
I
that
like
would
the
be
4 more years.
I want hats and t-shirts.
Maybe you and Debbie can just swap places for a year. So.
Well, then that's, I mean, I want to give people time to think about it and have that. So, I know we should have that before January, but if I can push it off to our February meeting and then, I can let people marinate with that. Gary, Steve, Chris.
we having gone from 9 board members down to 5, that suddenly limits your ability to pull from people and roles in time. We didn't think about it when we did that, but maybe the 3 years doesn't fit our model anymore with this number of board members. Maybe it should be something different. So something to think about.
Yep.
Or maybe the terms should be 3 years, but we allow 2 in a row.
Right, yeah.
Like the president gets 2 4-year terms of the country, I mean.
Yeah. Okay, well, think about it. And Chris, if you don't mind putting that in the notes, and then I will also send an email just with some proposals of what we want to bring to our February meeting, if that's okay with everybody. Anything else in regard to forms or end of year, new 22-year processes, Stacy?
Yeah, fine free. So this recently
Oh.
came up.
I forgot to add that. Sorry.
So we're fine free on all our audiobooks and our books, and there were other things, but we don't carry those things anymore, so I won't mention them. And it's been fine. It's been completely fine. During the pandemic, up until very recently, all our materials were in what's called amnesty mode. So people weren't being fined. And what we found is that it did not present major problems. Now, when we initially tried going fine free, we made everything fine free. And when we initially did it, there was some problem with DVDs coming back. But we've been fine free now for 7 years. And now that we've gone through this amnesty situation, the question is, and other libraries have done it, do we want to just go completely fine free and not have fines on anything? Now, people would still be billed if the item doesn't come back. Like if it's a book, you have 9 weeks with the book. On the 10th week, you're going to get a bill. We're going to assume you lost it or something's happened. Same.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not looking at the budget or any of that document right now. What is our usual earnings on fine? It's just a donation at this point, right? So
right. We do take donations in lieu of fines if people are so inclined. And it would be the same. It could potentially be the same deal with the movies.
We brought in like less than $500, Tara.
Yeah.
okay. And then
Budgeted 3,000, but took in 463.
A lot of
Okay.
that is because we abated fines
Right.
because of the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it will put us, it'll throw off our budget a little bit, but I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, if it's working, it's positive for the community and the patrons. You've got a way to collect if you really in our dire straits to get something for something that's lost or whatever. I see no reason not to.
I feel like fines, after living with books and audiobooks, and it used to be music when we had music, being fine free is a good thing, because fines have more of a tendency to cause people not to bring things back because they don't want to pay the fines or they feel embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. People who are going to take something from the library with the intent of never bringing it back, they don't care about fines. So who you end up punishing are people who just honestly are a little late and are good patrons, and that's not really good customer service. And technically the community owns the collection. They've already paid for everything we have in their tax dollars. So fining them is kind of like, when you think about it.
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to hear that, if somebody just doesn't return it, there's a process in place to collect. And I agree with Gary,
I make a motion that we go fine free in the Masson Library from starting this day forward.
I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you.
and then all in favor.
All right.
Aye.
Great. Okay.
So Stacy, the other thing, just I don't know if everybody was aware, we at one time had a conversation, I think, as a board, about how could we get books to people who were closed, shut in or whatever, and we didn't really come up with a solution, and now there is a solution. So I don't know if everybody's aware, but
Yeah, if anyone has a family member or knows of someone that is homebound for any reason, whether it be for the long term until the end of their life, or maybe it's a temporary situation. I don't know, they could have cancer or something, not be able to go out. They could partake in books by mail, and it's super easy. You can register online if the person's not comfortable with that. Like we've had people inquire that have sight challenges, so obviously they can't register online if they can't see well enough to do so. We'll register them. If they can find a way to call, we'll, ask them the questions and get them all registered. They can either choose to do their own holds. The system will give them directions on how that works. So they can pick their own stuff and it gets mailed to their doorstep. And when they're done, they put it back in the bag and postage paid, it goes back to Pioneer. Or they have someone at Pioneer named Suzanne who will, based on a survey you fill in, she'll pick books that would be of interest and mail them out to the person. Same deal. When they're done, they just put them back in the bag and flip a card and they go back to Pioneer. So it's all through the US mail.
Yeah, that was exciting to see.
It is super exciting. And I think right now, the most people taking advantage of it are Macedon people.
Great.
I promoted it so much.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. Anything else that anybody would like to bring up to chat about? Otherwise,
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Great. All right.
Yes.
I'll second that. And then all in favor?
Aye.
And we will see you on the 28th, everybody.
Night
Stay
all.
warm, stay healthy. Thank
Good
you
night.
all so much.
Night.
Right.
Bye.
Take care.